Hey everyone, it's the NFL breakdown for week 3. I'm going to talk about all the games. It's an unlisted video. I won't make it public until after like the 4 o'clock games start. So anybody who subscribes, purchases a copy of this, you get this earlier. We can go over what the algorithm says. I've done a review of the games and I can talk knowledgeably about what it's doing here in week 3, a week where we're still struggling for current season stats entirely. We've got most of them, but next week we'll have all of them once every team has a home and an away game played at least. So let's start at the top. We'll go game by game. So this Tampa Bay Philadelphia situation, we're sitting at a magnifier of 7 right now because the magnifier of 7 worked well for the Thursday night's game projection. And it should be a little higher than the 5.5 normally because we're just using current season stats for what's going on right now. Now, that being said, it is upping scores a little bit too much on some distorted games. The reason why this is happening, and it's giving such an edge to Tampa Bay and a lot of points, is a distortion. And I'll show you where it's showing up. Because I was trying to figure out why is this happening, right? The Eagles should be favored. They are favored, right? Well, here's what's going on. Is if you look at where the scoring is affected here, we use something called the defensive injury factor to determine scores. And this is where this abnormally ridiculously huge number is right here. This 50%. That's the amount of Philadelphia's impactful defensive players that we said are injured or questionable. That's what's doing it. So when you look at the defense and you look at different teams here, you can see that with Philadelphia, which starts right about here, you've got Avonte Maddox is out. And you've got questionable Jordan Davis, questionable Terrell Edmonds, questionable Zach Cunningham, questionable Josh Sweat. Like these are big people on their defense. You see, they're pretty impactful when it comes to their C scores. So this is the problem, is that these people are injured or out. And that, of course, affects Philly's defense. And so what that's saying is Tampa Bay is ripe for an upset. It's not number 1 caliber upset. So I wouldn't listen explicitly to what the algorithm is showing here under the picks, meaning it's probably not going to be a 23-point blowout for Tampa Bay, but they can win and they will be able to score something on Philadelphia's somewhat injured defense. So this is an underdog line. The +5 is reasonable. Team points for Tampa Bay is reasonable, given that that's kind of where the extremes are popping out in this analysis of the game. So worth a shot at +185. But yeah, team points. San Francisco game was Thursday night. Does pretty well under this magnifier 7. There's a survivor pick. They win. They more than cover. Good for them. Couple other games that are really, really huge favorites and should probably win and may cover. The Chiefs over the Bears. Miami over Denver. Notice it's wanting to put up a ton of points in these games at a magnifier of 7. I'm tempted to bring it down to 6, but, you know, because these points, they just look a little extreme and it's tough in this point in the season to know. Maybe it's something down around here, 35-23 Miami. Then you have the Dallas over Arizona, with Arizona putting up less. These are terrible lines, but these are all teams that are supposed to win. If you want to put them all on a round robin on the money line to win, right? Kansas City, Miami, Dallas. Now, what about Atlanta and Detroit? So this game has Detroit favored by the odds makers. So here's another underdog. Second time we see an underdog on this list. Has Atlanta winning 27-16. Just doesn't want to give the benefit to Detroit even at home. And when we look at those teams and we say, all right, well, what is Atlanta bringing to the table here? Bijan Robinson rushing really well. Tyler Allegier, Desmond Ritter. These are players that I just don't know and don't watch a lot of at all. Receiving core, not so great with Drake London and Max Hollins. There's, minor stuff. It looks like they're getting it done with the run game. And so if their defense can hold off Detroit, who also, I believe, has some injuries. I think Amon St. Brown is questionable, but playing. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yep. Look at that. Couple really big, Josh Reynolds and Amon-Ra, both questionable, so they're probably not going to be 100%. Another reason, they're not coming out of the score prediction really because they're still in there as questionable, but it's putting the edge up toward Atlanta, even with those players playing. So keep that in mind. Here's another underdog. And you have the Dallas game, Minnesota high scoring game against the Chargers. Yep, 52 points, over under set at 54. Not surprised. Does say Minnesota wins this game at home. Chargers have blown 2 already this season, blown 2 leads. Minnesota likes blowing leads too. So expect both these teams to blow leads late in the game. Your Rams over your Bengals, Joe Burrow is questionable. Rams have a bit more offense than the odds makers are giving them credit for. So yet another underdog. You've got your 3 underdogs, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and the Rams, all up here with projected margins of victory over 1 score. So those are some high rankings for some underdog teams here in this list. Then you have Green Bay over New Orleans at home, 25-18, reasonable line. Does Jordan Love perform at home? And what happens with the Saints? We're going to see a weaker Carolina. Green Bay is a better team than Carolina last week. So that's another one, a reasonable line. Buffalo over my Commanders. This is where the lines get bad for as far down here as this is. It does say 8-point victory for the Bills. They are away in Washington. Could be rainy weather on Sunday, maybe. I don't know. I know it is going to be on Saturday, but it does say Buffalo wins. Baltimore over Indianapolis. A lot of points in this game. This is where the over-under is probably the play in this game. It thinks that Indianapolis is partaking in games that just have a lot of points in both directions. So it's putting a huge score up here, which is way blowing out the over by 21 points. So that over-under of 44 looks really good to take the over in this game. It's probably a good play. The Jets and the Patriots, lower scoring game that the Jets can win 19-14. To try to put the Patriots to 0-3, right? This game's in New York. Really close game, though. I understand why this is an underdog line. It says even less than the 36.5 over-under, which is by far the lowest. Really, it is the lowest over-under of all of those. Seahawks over the Panthers, and they're minus 245, so the line's not good for down here. Raiders over the Steelers in a low-scoring game, 17-13. Wow. So we're starting to get way down here. It puts Houston over Jacksonville. So the Houston plus 8.5. It always seems to overestimate Houston, but there you go. That's what it's doing. Is this game in London? Is this game in Jacksonville? I don't know. Like Tennessee and Cleveland. You got Nick Chubb out. Tennessee with Derrick Henry still in there. Tie game, plus 150. So a lot of underdogs on this list. If you're going with the underdog round robin, it's Tennessee, Houston, the Jets, the Rams, the Falcons, and Tampa Bay. That's 6 of them. You'd probably go 3-3 or better. You want to go better than 3-3. If you go 4-2 on that, that's not bad at all. And then you've got these big favorites up here, and then a reasonable line with Minnesota over the Chargers and with Green Bay over the Saints. So this has the potential to be a nice paying week. Really does. Because it's putting some of the games with worse lines down here. It's saying take the over in this game instead of taking Baltimore at home, though, against Indianapolis. So I hope that's helpful. You can see it. We identified the underdogs. We identified why this is such a ridiculous score here, given Philadelphia's injuries. But seeing all those injuries on Philadelphia makes you want to put a little something on Tampa Bay, given that they're 2-0 this season. And even though you know that the Eagles should be favored there, but their defense is going to hurt things a little bit. So that's the update, guys. Enjoy week 3. I've got a busy weekend, so we'll review scores and stuff after the Monday night games, or which 2 games, which I already talked about, so that we can not worry about them. Well, those are the Buccaneers and the Rams, so we won't even get to see what happens there until Monday night. All right, good luck. May all your picks be winning, guys. Good luck.